In honor of SpongeBob officially being the longest running cartoon of all time, and the fact that I've seen it a couple of different times on my For You page today, thinking about it in the shower, pause. But I think I'm going to name 5 random episodes of SpongeBob that are my favorite. First off, I do got a little list right here. Don't care. I'm not about to remember the show off the top of my head. First off, number 1, easily Krusty Krab pizza episode. I can't remember what it was called. I think it's called like Pizza Delivery or something like that. But that episode, crazy. The whole Krusty Krab pizza song. Krusty Krab pizza is the pizza for you and me. And then it was like, Krusty Krab pizza is the pizza, yeah, for you and me. Oh, that shit, crazy episode. I ain't gonna lie. And then it ended with like Squidward helping SpongeBob and all that at the end because SpongeBob was like sad that he delivered the pizza to the customer, but then he like pretty much slammed the door on him because he said he wanted his drink or whatever. Like, and then Squidward basically was like, "Fuck you, nigga. Take the pizza anyway." And threw it in his face. Oh, that's it. That shit was fire. That's first. In the Hassling and Slasher episode, that's number 2. Hassling and Slasher. That shit was also crazy. It had a lot of quotables in that motherfucker. Like, you remember the part where they were hitting that dude that they had framed, or they turned him into a zombie or something, but he wasn't a zombie. He just got knocked out. He kept getting up and the police officer was like, die zombie. And she kept hitting him with the shovel and shit. That shit was fire. And then just the whole like mystery aspect of the episode, that shit was crazy. Like, cause you didn't really know who did it, who the Hassling and Slasher was, and who was flickering the lights. That shit was just crazy. Like, that's probably like, I said Krusty Krab pizza number 1, but Hassling and Slasher might have been my favorite episode of all time. I don't know. That shit's hard though. And then at the end, it was like, well, who were flickering the lights? And it was like Nosferatu. Like, that's what introduced me to Nosferatu. I didn't know who Nosferatu was until I watched that. Number 3, this one's crazy too. SpongeBob and Patrick, his parents, was insane. Basically, like, that was like when they had that clam and they pretty much adopted the clam, and then SpongeBob and Patrick were both like parents of the clam and all that. SpongeBob was basically like playing the role of like the nagging mom and all that. That shit was just hilarious. Like, he was doing like 1,000 different things at the same time while being a mom and shit. And then Patrick was just pretty much like with the working man, but that nigga wasn't really going to work. He was just sitting in under his little rock, just watching TV and shit. He wasn't even actually working. That shit was just hilarious to me. I ain't gonna lie. That shit was fire. Number 4, this is also a crazy ass episode. The Doodle Bob episode. This episode was just hilarious. Like, the scenes where they chasing each other, they were chasing Doodle Bob was chasing them. Like, that shit was just hilarious to me. And then that nigga was just speaking gibberish the whole time, like, and that shit was just hilarious. That episode was fire as fuck. This episode is crazy. This episode got taken off of Nickelodeon, I believe. I don't even think it's out there no more. You probably find it, but I don't think it's like an episode that's available to just watch. But it's the episode where Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob, and Patrick were stealing panties and shit. So this episode was funny as hell too, because at the end, Mr. Krabs ended up stealing panties, but it was actually his mama's panties. So when he found them, they were like some big ass bloomers. And that nigga, and then his mom, it came out, he was like, what? Like, that shit was just hilarious. But that shit had hella quotables too, like the part where they was like, are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs? Are you feeling it now? And then it had the episode, and then it had the quotable in there where they were like, are you ready to party, Mr. Krabs? And he was like, I'm ready to party. Hey, are you ready to party, SpongeBob? He said, I'm ready to party. Like, that shit was just hilarious. That shit's fire too. Oh yeah, honorable mention too. When SpongeBob and Patrick and Squidward are stranded in the forest, and they had to use their little magic clam, and then Magic Clam was telling SpongeBob and Patrick like what to do and like how they should like live while they're like stranded and shit. And they kept following it. Anything they wished for, it would like fall out the sky, like when they were wishing for the food, and then the food just came out the plane and landed. And this Squidward tried to like, Squidward was hungry, so he kept asking the clam if he could have something to eat, and they kept saying no. And he just started asking the clam random questions, and then it was just like, no. And then he started getting shitty, and he was like, can I have something to eat? And it was like, no. That nigga said, bro, SpongeBob might be the funniest fucking show of all time. I don't know. That shit is hilarious. Especially as like you get older, some of this shit is more relatable. That shit is just hilarious. Like, just hilarious. Let me know if you want a part 2. Like the video if you want a part 2. Follow all that good stuff. Share it if you want a part 2, because I got way more episodes than just this to share with y'all.